Looking at the show as a whole, what to you is the scariest aspect of Doctor Who?
So I'd probably say the Mondasian Sidemen, Sidemen in particular, but the Mondasian Sidemen, because they're the most human. And, they got the human hands and they really ram home the point that this is human point too. And, that is just so relatable, and you think, oh God, is that what's going to happen in the future? That sort of thing.
I know what was the scariest to me when I was a kid was the Yeti.
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 Love it.
Web of Fear.
For the kickoff. I mean, it looks scary, and then it's the door would open on its chest, and its heart come out. It was like this steel ball that will hover like that.
Yeah.
As an 8-year-old, I tell you what, you've never seen anything so scary. But similarly, in the present era, that Weeping Angel.
Yeah.
Again, some of the best ideas are the simplest. You can have like complicated, complex villains sometimes. But now and again, the scariest thing is to don't blink.
Yeah.
It's childlike, it's childish.
Yeah.
It just worked a treat.
He's waited so long.
He's waited so long.
In the dark.
In the dark.
And the cold.
And the cold.
And the diamonds.
And the diamonds.
Throughout Doctor Who's 55 years, it has been notorious for its hide-behind-the-settee nature. With effective monsters and intriguing writing, there have been some absolute gems with even the simplest of concepts. A child looking for its mother, Peter Kay, and of course the infamous staring contest. Not only does it have the scare factor, but it also has the emotional and moral questions, easily making scenarios that the viewer can place themselves in.
Do I have the right?
An example of this is the Cybermen, with them literally being a mirror image of humanity from the twin planet Mondas. Listen to spare parts. In terms of production value, the show is also, unfortunately, renowned for wobbly sets and awful CGI, but the prosthetics work is heavenly. An episode that could be argued to be one of the scariest in the show's entire run, and mixes all of these together amazingly, is my favourite Russell T Davies script, Midnight. Not only is this the great work of RTD as writer, but the work of director Alice Troughton cannot be understated. Series 4, Episode 10 is too damn good to put into words. So here is me, trying to put it into words, in a deep dive analysis on why Midnight is so fantastic. The episode opens with the inviting sparkling landscape showing the harsh yet stunning environment of this alien planet. The cheesy music over this highlights to the audience straight away that this is a holiday resort, further emphasised with Donna lounging about, enjoying her time off temping, while being waited on hand, foot and finger. The relaxed and distant camera by the poolside contrasts with the tight close-up on Tennant, already juxtaposing the initial calming, picturesque images of the establishing shots. It also introduces the notion of, while there are vast open areas, it's still going to be tight and contained. After some light exposition and answering everyone's most burning question about the future, yes, there are still gumball machines in space, the episode proceeds to pull you in on this fantastic hook with that brilliant sting of the theme tune.
What could possibly go wrong?
Yes, what could go wrong? The opening establishes how playful and jokey the 10th Doctor actually is, which then contrasts to later on when he is completely shooketh. But I'm getting ahead of myself. After the opening titles, the cheesy music returns, establishing the whole idea of this being a paid-for experience and a lot more touristy than other Doctor Who adventures. With all the characters now boarded, and it showing just how many distractions there are from simple human interaction, the plot gets underway, saying nothing can survive outside the doors. Each character is seen very separated, with them rarely sharing the frame. It relies on shot-reverse shot, showing the pre-established relationships, while also highlighting how distant everybody is from one another. Once the electrics are down, The Doctor acts as everyone's dad on Christmas Day when the Wi-Fi's gone.
4 hours of just sitting here.
I tell you what, we'll have to talk to each other instead.
The tight framing and usual lack of movement in these shots show how claustrophobic the cabin is. After talking and getting to know a few of the characters and who they are, which all comes up later, the camera starts to move again as the characters are more comfortable, all grinding to a halt with a stationary camera as they sit there.
In the middle of nowhere.
RTD then sprinkles doubt into the viewer's mind, which makes them question if they saw anything outside, putting the viewer on alert.
Just there, that ridge. Like a shadow, just for a second.
What sort of shadow?
Also, with the sharp turn into a tense score from Murray Gold and the diegetic alarm all aiding in the confusion of this scene, and the next one to come. This perfectly, through the fast editing, shows the quick descent into chaos, from only the smallest of comments as everyone starts to worry for their own well-being. The scene highlights how even without an alien entity or overt threat, paranoia seeps in, but this all leads to the first moments are again slow, as reflected in the editing, until it gradually starts to build back up again. Jethro voices everyone's darkest thought.
Who's there?
As the knocking moves around the cabin, we get our first point of view shot, putting us in the eyes of the prey. The heartbeat emphasises the tension when it goes for the door. After isolating Sky, the Midnight Entity makes its first violent attack, sending the shuttle and those within from side to side. When the dust settles, the viewer is reassured that the shuttle has not been breached, lulling them into a false sense of security. The tension is still high in the Big Brother house, however, as the once smooth shots are now replaced with jagged handheld movements, as the stewardess scrambles around the carriage, revealing the first casualties of the episode. Simple bright light is more effective than showing, say, skeletons or a gruesome demise for the drivers, as it is still very much unknown as to what has happened, and the mystery not only drives the plot forward, but leaves it up to the imagination as to their fate. Not only contrasting to earlier shots with everybody more isolated and having their own frame, it instead shows the claustrophobia of having every character inside one, but utilising levels to show how vulnerable Sky is in this moment. The tension builds through the score and paranoia shared between the characters. A gradual zoom on the reveal of her turning around. And then scanning with the electronic hum on every turn as the character is landing. The brilliantly harsh lighting from the torches leaves a great shadow on the wall, visually showing that there is more than one person here.
My name's the Doctor.
My name's the Doctor.
With the repeating of words, it is such a simple concept, yet works so effectively. Looking at the behind the scenes for this episode, you can see just how much work was put into this.
Mrs. Silvestri. So we just had to sort of get together and do it again and again and again and again for ourselves before the camera was turned on.
Russell rather kindly gave us the square root of pi to learn to 30 decimal places. For someone who scraped through their maths higher, you just start about learning it, of course. That's the first obstacle to get over.
7298167483341. Wow.
When you get people talking at the same time, overlapping each other, it's very difficult to edit. So the sound people who are brilliant, Julian is absolutely with his team, have to take everyone's speech separately. So you would do a take all together, overlapping, people coming in and out. And then he would say, no, right, now we're going to do Lindsay. And so she would be the only one to speak.
I want him out! Get him out! Throw him out!
With them filming separate takes for each character's dialogue, with the others then miming in the background. It's things like this that really inspire kids and young filmmakers in general, and why behind the scenes of shows or films as influential as this is very important. #BringBackDoctor Who Confidential. Again with Murray Gold's bombastic score.
That's impossible. But that's impossible.
It sets in that feeling of paranoia and the sharp sting that plays every time she repeats a different person, which aids in putting the viewer in a state of discomfort. The camera focuses on tight close-ups and rapid editing with this shot-reverse shot format to get you to focus on specific details and sentences each character is saying, and then the repeat of it from Sky until the lights come back up and restore somewhat of an order, with now slower cuts and a chance to catch your breath. Now comes to one of my favourite reveals of the episode. The camera, like most of the characters themselves, shy away from Sky as Professor Hobbs talks of calming down and retreating to the back of the ship. The audio clearly sounds a bit off here, and tension is built from the fact that you can't see Sky, but from the reactions of Jethro and the Doctor, it reveals.
I know. Doctor, now step back. I think you should leave her alone.
It then comes to this brilliant two-shot, completely paralleling with the Doctor in awe, and such a laissez-faire blank expression from Sky. Another part that's always stuck with me about this is when Val cries, and she cries with her. It's such a haunting and almost ghoulish sound, made all the more creepy from it being completely diegetic. After Steve Jobs over here with the bright ideas sends everyone to the back of the shuttle, the pull focus highlights her piercing eyes, watching them at all times, only accentuated with the now long shots and subtle zooms. For the other characters, the light comes from above, but for Sky, it's this low light that makes sure she has this strong presence in each frame she's in, even with the shallow depth of field. It's suggested to throw her out, and after some back and forth,
I beg your pardon?
They're shown with the tight framing and gaze that there's clearly a strong tension between the Doctor and Biff.
What if you, for all we know, that's a brand new life form over there, and if it's come inside to discover us, then what's it found?
It's found paranoia. These are people who otherwise would be caring and fine, as seen earlier, but when tested and not even threatened by this entity, they have a gut reaction to kill it. It's not showed them any physical harm. All it's done is take their voices, their words, and that is the true horror of this episode. Not any gore or an on-the-loose murderer, just a group of everyday people and a drop of paranoia to send them plummeting down to a group of people willing to murder. Yet they still think of themselves as sane, rational human beings. And why wouldn't they? It's this at first relatable nature of the characters which pulls us in and shows you the gut human reaction in a situation. And that is what truly scares me. The silence emphasises the shock and speechlessness of the characters until the stewardess brings herself forward in some nice foreshadowing, saying she'd do it. She'd throw her out. Then in true mob mentality fashion, everyone starts to chime in, saying they'd do the same. In a similar standoff shot from earlier, the same tension is shown between the Doctor and Biff. The Doctor is now shown to be even more isolated, and this shot only emphasises how closed in he is.
How did you know what to do? Because I'm clever! I see. Well, that makes things clear.
And what are we then? Idiots?
Stupid ape!
The desperation on Tennant's face here is extraordinary. It shows just how alone and powerless he really is in this situation. He's at a loss for words.
I'm the Doctor, and if there's one thing I can do, it's talk. I've got 5 billion languages, and you haven't got one way of stopping me. So if anybody's going to shut up, it's you!
In disbelief that they would even suggest throwing him out. Davies then uses what we know, or more aptly, what we don't know about the Doctor against us. They ask his name.
So you could tell us your name. What does it matter? Then tell us.
And of course, we know it must never be spoken, yet they have just reason to be sceptical of someone who withholds even their name from them. After Mrs. Silvestri stops repeating the others, and only maintains it with the Doctor, it returns back to this shot, which marks the different stages of the entity's development throughout the episode.
So, what do you think? Do we have a deal?
Oh, hell no!
The slow push-ins add to this moment, with the Doctor visibly in pain as he's being controlled. The cold piano and strings in the music as well add to this chilling moment. Everyone hurries and seeks for reassurance. As the paranoia sinks in again, people believe what they want to believe, as long as it's comforting.
She's safe, isn't she? Jethro, it's let her go, hasn't it?
I think so, yeah. Looks like it.
They much prefer to accept a lie than be told a harsh truth. The dialogue here feels very natural and genuine, and stays true to the beliefs of each character. And this is how you get people's point across.
From my point of view, the Jedi are evil.
Even with such minute and tiny details, it still feels so large, as throughout the episode she has remained relatively still and motionless. Then here, with the light showing her to be more powerful, not only through levels, but her reaffirmed stature and that haunting smile. As it builds and people are encouraged into throwing the Doctor out.
That's the one. You can do it. You can do it. Molto bene.
She twigs. She sees that she was her all along.
She's taken his
She throws her out, sacrificing herself to save all of the others, not only from being picked off one by one, but to save them from killing an innocent man. The editing slows and shows the reaction of each person.
I said it was her.
Oh, shut up, you're so annoying! What was her name?
Everyone was too wrapped up in themselves, even at the start to even think of asking her name. The blank face on 10 says it all here. The fear of the unknown is chewing him up inside. We've seen him fight aliens and countless threats, and more often than not, he got out with his words. But here, his words were stolen, and he truly doesn't understand what was at play. To this day, we still don't know what it is, and that's the beauty of it. It is not, and fingers crossed, will not be used again.
Let this planet keep on turning around the next tonic star in silence.
I think there's something special about putting a handful of talented actors into a room with a tight script and creating something intriguing. And to make it edge-of-your-seat entertainment as well as no mean feat. Something Inside Number 9 does as well. Watch Inside Number 9. Midnight is the epitome of this. And it not only works as a great episode of Doctor Who, but also as a great 45 minutes of science fiction. All of the actors here are on top form. I don't even think that there's one weak link. I'm also glad that they chose a fantastic episode for Patrick Troughton's son to star in, instead of having a weaker episode, as it's a nice little continuation of the legacy. Midnight, to me, is such a stellar episode, not only from the standpoint of tension, but from the characters and writing. Each side character is quickly set up with clear traits and goals, and even the small details story-wise, with the first two to board being the first two off. This episode is also clearly the one that was nicest to the budget, and this utilises this creatively. And instead of having a story suffer from not having the budget it needed, it instead moulds a story that perfectly suits this style, and in a lot of ways benefits from it, with the main bulk of the episode taking place on one set. Doctor Who is known for being brilliant at the whole base under siege story. Funnily enough, introduced in Troughton's era, and here it is used to masterful effect. The base has already been infiltrated, and it is in the dire situation where we get to learn about each character seeing a side of them they probably hide from themselves. A part of them that takes control as soon as paranoia has a grip. A dark side that instantly agrees with any sort of authority that says something that benefits them. The mob mentality. Which is why this is, to me, one of the scariest episodes from the whole run of the show. It shows the effect of paranoia on people, and that is terrifying. If you enjoyed this critical analysis of Doctor Who, then don't hesitate to
click below
and subscribe to the Doctor Who Expert 7, who's currently going through all of the New Who episodes in in-depth reviews. But thank you for watching. I know this was a very long video, and I tried to make sure everything said was relevant, but this is one of my favourite episodes from one of my favourite shows, so naturally I had a lot to say. I really enjoyed making this one, and I'm hoping I can get the next video essay out sooner.